So I am a bit of an enigma. How does a Jewish cop from New Jersey stand here in Dubai? It is a tremendous honor for me to be here, seriously. I've had a pretty remarkable career. I've worked in New Jersey in some of the streets of the urban environment. I spent 6 years as a deep undercover agent in South Florida. At the same time that Miami Vice was rolling in their Ferrari, I was driving a beaten up Nova on the other side of the highway. But the career took some interesting turns, and I wound up back in New Jersey as the nation's first state chief of a hate crimes division. So how did I get to that place? Sincerely, when I made rank, I wound up getting an assignment from the Attorney General and the governor, and he said, listen, you have to wrap your arms around this thing called hate crimes, because we're seeing graffiti on the facades of religious institutions. Back then it was synagogues. I took it somewhat seriously, but local law enforcement did not. However, I was somewhat insulted that my division, which was involved in felony crime and organized crime and counterterrorism, was going to be taking on vandalism, was going to be taking on graffiti. I just want to share a quick story with you. It was about 3 o'clock in the morning. I received a phone call from a detective in one of our urban cities. He said, Chief, you got to come down here. We had a major vandalism at the cemetery. I said to him, you're literally calling me at 3 o'clock in the morning to tell me to come out to a vandalism at 3 o'clock in the morning. Can't you send someone else to handle this? He said, I think you're going to want to see this. This was over 23, 24 years ago. He said, it's a cemetery that happens to be Jewish, and there are swastikas, kill Jews, 6 million more, scrawled across the tombstones. And again, I said, but this isn't even a felony crime. This is vandalism. He said, we went through the names of folks who were buried, the deceased in this synagogue. He said, Barney Goldenberg's name came up. Barney Goldenberg was my father. That changed things very quickly for me. I never felt that way in my life. I've been in some pretty dangerous situations in my life, and I will tell you, when I got in my unmarked car, I put my lights and siren on, and I wasn't even going to a call where there was a suspect on the other side. The feelings, I can't begin to tell you. I became that victim, that person. I understood for the first time in my life, who would do this? Who would do this? Years later, standing with John Farmer and others, where I traveled across Europe working in basically Jewish communities from Paris to Croatia to Sweden, I couldn't fathom that to enter a synagogue in Paris, France, a synagogue that was French, on French soil, with French people, Jews, that I had to go through 3 checkpoints, an armored personnel carrier, barbed wire, that we call barbed wire. How did we get to this place? This was just 7, 8 years ago. And I also said to myself, this will never happen in the United States. The worst we have right now is graffiti. We've had vandalism. We have had assaults. And lo and behold, flash to bang in a moment's notice. Organized massacre, organized killing, people plotting, planning on the internet, on social media. How did we get to this place? So, ladies and gentlemen, I'm involved in academia now, but I'm not an academic. I was a practitioner. I've responded to probably over 250 hate crimes here in the United States and across Europe. And what I've seen in just the past 36 months rattles someone like myself. I just can't believe it. I look at my 3 children. I cannot believe it. How did we get to this place? Where do we go from here? So we, working with Rutgers University, organized something called the Miller Center. And the Miller Center is something that we're extremely proud of. And we're here today to provide a different perspective, a different set of optics. People ask, where are the police? How are the police responding to these crimes? So I'd like to just have, and he's going to be a part of a panel. Carl, if you could stand for a moment. This is where the police are. I heard twice today that the chief of police showed up at the home, that the chiefs of police were the ones that unfortunately were engaged and involved in this type of horrid, horrid genocide. The police have come a long way, a remarkable way. And the March of the Living has been absolutely an extraordinary place for us to better understand what the words never again mean, even to those men and women that wear uniforms today around the world. Because if they are educated, and they very much want to participate and be a part of the process, then we've already, I don't want to say we've already provided a solution, but we've already provided a process that is extremely important to the words of never again. We have to operationalize the words never again. We say them, never again, never again. Okay, what does that mean? We have to operationalize it. And we can't do that without standing side by side with those that protect us. So where the Miller Center really focused, we focused on building capacity and building bridges of trust between Jewish communities throughout Europe and the police that are sworn to protect them. And there have been absolutely remarkable models out there. So we're very proud of the work because it's niche work and it's very different. And some people question, they said, aren't the police the problem? Well, if they are, we have to make them a part of the solution. And trust me, whatever you hear out there, they very much want to be part of the solution. This is a new paradigm. This is a new place. And many in law enforcement are feeling like victims themselves. There isn't a day that goes by that they're not being assaulted or murdered. And they are feeling the pain. And I think they understand what our pain has been. So in closing, and I didn't even read from my notes, I was going to, but I just want to say something in closing. Look, during times of crisis and other catastrophic events, it's the neighborhood congregations, the community outreach centers, the social service agencies, and other community organizations, the very fabric of democracies that are best positioned to become critical partners. And that's the message of the Miller Center. That's the work that we've been doing, and we're very proud of the work we're doing with the March. These communities are literally democracy's bedrock. They can't do it on their own. They simply need the resources and the training to make it a reality. And until that happens, we will continue with our efforts at the Miller Center of supporting the important work of these communities and their organizations. I think we all know, and I heard again and again and again today, our strength lies in the diversity, acceptance, and common collective goal to assemble freely in our respective houses of worship without fear, intimidation, or threat of violence. We've long recognized that an attack on one is truly an attack on all. And as I listened to the rabbi in closing, the rabbi said, if you take down our house, if they think that they can take down our house, if they think that we're going to change the way we live, the way we go to synagogue, church, or mosque, if they believe for 1 second that they can change who we are, they've won. So the rabbi's words were so critical. We can never let them believe that. We can never let them feel that they have won. So, training, building capacity with government and law enforcement, that's where we're focused. That's where we're going to remain focused. And I just want to say, to the leadership. There's so many to thank here. Phyllis, and I can go on, and I don't want to leave anyone out. But Eve, in closing, Eva, your story is remarkable. You've heard that many times. It's incumbent upon us to make sure that we not only don't forget, but we operationalize never again. I want to personally thank you. I want to thank you for having me here today. And in closing, I will say one thing. I spent the day with Eve yesterday. I'm a 225-pound, and I looked at Eve and complained about my swollen ankles and my back, and she looked at me and she said, "Stop complaining, just keep moving." Eve, we're all going to keep moving. Thank you very much.